it is widely accepted that Copernicus discovered the sun-centered universe in the 15th century. The geocentric model, according to which the Earth is stationary and the Sun and other planets rotate around the Earth, dominated the cosmological scene for centuries. There was now evidence appearing which threatened this long-held view. As the evidence mounted and it became overwhelming, and in the 15th century, Copernicus, with his observations, established the sun-centered universe and rejected the geocentric model. Currently, there is information being uncovered that Copernicus is not the true discoverer of the sun-centered universe. And I want to share this information with you, and you can make up your own mind what you make of it. If you look at Copernicus' manuscripts, you find that his model of planetary motion uses the identical mathematical device developed by al-Shatir and other Arabic astronomers. He praises the Arabic predecessors, the astronomers, acknowledges them, so there's no doubt that he was influenced by them. European astronomers uses the same Arabic symbols and then translate them into Latin. Find that they often misread these symbols and reduce it to writing in this mistaken form. So these mistakes were also copied. And this sort of proof that there was a copying process going on. The historian George Sariba, he gathered plenty of evidence. He was an expert in Islamic and Greek civilization, that Copernicus actually started copying from Al-Tusi, which lived in the 13th century. In fact, there was a remarkable similarity between the scientific works of Copernicus and Al-Tusi. There's a particular diagram devised by Al-Tusi where Copernicus employed the identical letters to label the diagram. For example, if the Arabic letter alif, which signifies A, is used, Copernicus uses the same letter. For the Arabic word ba, he uses the letter B. For the Arabic letter jim, he uses the word J, and so forth. Now, John William Draper, late professor of chemistry at the New York University, in his celebrated works, The Intellectual Development of Europe, he makes a stunning statement where he says, and I quote, "I have to deplore the systematic manner in which European literature is contrived in putting out of sight our scientific obligations to the Mohammedans." Now, I quote this because it sums up the lie propagated by Western writers that they were the discoverers of science, but it was actually the Muslims, some Jews and Christians, that laid the foundation of science, and truth is now filtering through. The same person, that is John William Draper, asked a probing question, what the modern astronomer should say when he hears an Arab astronomer, Abu Hassan, speaking of tubes to the extremities of which are attached ocular and object diopters. Now, Abu Hassan clearly here laying out the design of the telescope, the most important tool in astronomy. Now, we know that according to Western understanding, that it was Galileo Galilei that discovered the telescope. But later it was found that Lippershey was the one in Holland. But here, John William Draper tells us it's actually Abu Hassan well before Lippershey, more than a century, he discovered the telescope. And so he had better access to planetary motion in his cosmic neighborhood. So he must have noticed that the Earth is in motion. Probably led him to reject the geocentric model. If you look at the Quran in chapter 21, verse 33, it says, "Each celestial body flows silently and effortlessly in its elliptical orbit with its own kind of motions." So our predecessors, the Arabs and the Persians, the scholars in the 8th to the 12th century, studied the Quran much more intensely than us, so they must have come across this verse and deduced that the earth could not be stationary. Al-Sijzi in the 11th century already hypothesized a sun-centered universe. Now let me give you just briefly a bit of stunning information. Ibn al-Haytham, a mathematical genius in the 9th, 10th century, he discovered the scientific method of calculus 6 centuries before Newton. 6 centuries, not decades. He discovered the first law of gravity of Newton 6 centuries before Newton. He discovered or formulated the first law, Kepler's first law of planetary motion 5 centuries before. He dwelled in advanced ideas such as the phenomenal and finite speed of light. Newton made many discoveries, but that light consists of many colors was not one of these. Ibn al-Haytham, according to him, light, flows in a stream, like in waves. And according to Avicenna, his contemporary, light consists of particles. So this laid the basis of the dual nature of light, which indirectly led to the quantum theory. In summary, therefore, there's a large body of evidence that Arab astronomers were the true discoverers of the sun-centered universe and not Copernicus. Now, for verification of the information provided, you may refer to Professor Roy Casagrande, which is affiliated to the Austin School, in his astonishing work, How Islam Saved Western Civilization. You may also consult works done by Professor George Sariga, which is a reliable historian of the ancient world, and of course many other sources.